Welcome to the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian.
I'm Dave.
Dave, you get to the honor of introducing this bright character. See what I did there? In between us, so we can get to and talk about his Masonic history, because it's pretty fun and it's interesting how it started.
I can't wait. So joining us today is Most Worshipful Michael Johnson, and we're super appreciative that you can make the trip out here today.
Welcome.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's just going to be a fun day, and
yeah.
Interested to see where you're going to go with this.
So we, well, we say that. So you've seen an episode?
I have.
So we don't trap anybody. We like to have fun, but we don't trap,
sure.
Right? Because that's how we feel like that's not very brotherly. However, we do poke fun, and fun is at someone else's expense. And so I've got to ask you this question. We want to know who Mike Johnson, the man, not the Mason. So tell us, who is Mike Johnson, the man?
That's a great question. Where do you want me to start with that?
Your answer.
Well, I try to be a down to earth individual, blue collar guy, electrician. My dad started a business over 30 years ago, and been working with him and helping him build that up over the years. And my sister's involved as well.
Okay.
Involved with the community as well, planning commissions, libraries, different things like that.
Where were you born? Where do you live?
I was born in Olathe, Kansas.
Okay. Outside of Kansas City for those non-Kansans.
Never lived there.
Okay.
Lewisburg is where I grew up. Spent a brief stint of about 4.5 years down in Pittsburgh, where my mom's from. My dad moved us back up to Lewisburg, and that's where I grew up and where I live today. Left for about 5 years to attend college, played football for a year at a community college, and then ended up at Kansas State University and finished a bachelor's degree there.
All right. Nice. So I'm going to save you from having to buy a dress or diamonds. So I know you're married and you have children.
Thank you.
Yes, this is what we do, boys. You've seen it happen a lot.
Yeah. I met my wife, Christine. She goes by Chris, while I was in college. She had a daughter from a previous marriage whom I later adopted. So I graduated college, got married, had a 5-year-old, all in a short amount of time. We had another girl, Olivia. The oldest one's Corinne. And we eventually took in our niece, Lexi, got her through high school. She's a good kid, really didn't need help getting through anything. But so I've always been surrounded by girls and, kind of beat down because of it sometimes.
But at our house, the toilet seats are bolted down, so everyone who's been here, they understand.
Yeah. It's been fun.
All right. That was, we're going to have to draw some more out of you. That's fine, because I knew how you'd be, so we're going to have to come back around.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, so tell us about your Masonic journey. From the very beginning, when you first got interested to the point that you came into where you are today.
A lot of years, dang near 30 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So didn't know anything about the fraternity. I had the opportunity. I was selected to play on the Kansas Shrine Bowl.
What year?
1993.
Because my wife was a cheerleader at the Shrine Bowl in 92.
Yeah.
So I just aged it. Sorry, honey.
So great experience, but through that experience, the process subjects you to a lot of brothers and some experiences, charitable experiences. The Shrine Hospital. At that point, they took you out there. I don't know that they do that anymore, but they took us out to St. Louis.
If they're not doing it, they sure should. I think it's hard for you to go to that hospital and not be a member, or at least if you're a member, to at least not keep paying your dues for that, right?
Right, yeah, definitely. But got back, went to Fort Scott first year, was initiated in October, passed November, and raised in December of 93. Mm-hmm. So actually learned my work pretty quick, didn't have any issues with that. After that, there was a Shriner in Kansas City area by the name of Leaford Savage. He pulled me around to Scottish Rite, York Rite, Shrine, whole lot of stuff. Met some brothers from Lewisburg, John Mallon.
Oh yeah, the voice of God.
The voice of God.
Yeah.
He came down, didn't know him from Adam. Night that I was raised down in Fort Scott, he came down with Bruce Barsh, who was a teacher there in Lewisburg, but also a Mason, a member in Lewisburg, and I think Bob Jackson was the third one. Those two guys passed on, but John's around and kicking and still mentoring everybody like he does so well. But met those guys, and just a whole lot of experiences really quick. Ended up going out to Manhattan my next year and got involved with that lodge.
So you were raised in 93.
Mm-hmm.
When were you master?
97.
Think this through. So he was a freshman in college when he was raised in 93. 4 years later, 22 years old, he's master of the lodge. So that's impressive. And I kind of look there now. I think you're a little younger than us. I think our 22, you're still in the generation. Our 22 is different than our kids' 22.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's maybe because, they're definitely a product of the environment, but I think it would be hard for, it obviously depends on the lodge and what the member or the mentorship is at the lodge. It'd be different for a 22-year-old to run it now. However, what better free leadership training do you get?
I had some outstanding leadership training, and I'd be remiss without mentioning Jeff Wilkins, most worshipful Jeff Wilkins, who was Grand Master of California, the same time I was Grand Master in Kansas. But he was a captain in the Army stationed at Fort Riley, and he was the master of Lafayette Lodge here in Manhattan, and appointed me to senior deacon when I got to Manhattan.
Right.
Excellent ritualist, just very, just like a professional officer would be in his conduct, and that was the example I got. That's why I'm sitting here as a grand lecturer today. Is just wow, that's the way that things are supposed to be. Right. But I don't know how you end up staying here 25, 30 years later, and we're both grand masters at the same time, and it started back in Manhattan. And there's actually another grand Mason in Manhattan at that time who was Grand Master of Oregon at the same time we were Grand Master. I can't remember his last name. I think it was Doug. He's going to kill me, but I just can't.
We'll remember later because in post we'll stick it across the bottom because he's going to find out in a moment.
I'll find out.
Yeah, we'll put it there. So, Master, let's fast forward a few years.
Okay.
Because we know you joined the York Rite, the Shrine, Scottish Rite. So, while you're still in your Masonic journey, who trapped you? Asked you to jump on the Grand Lodge line to be the Grand Junior Deacon, and this is
Grand Junior Deacon or
Grand Senior Deacon.
That would have been Pike's very own most worshipful Bob Talbot.
So we've got Bob Talbot's picture up now on the screen. Bob Talbot, he's cringing now because he doesn't want me to say this, but he is challenged. He makes anybody at Pike, Dave's a Pike member as well. We have to call him. Even like in social settings, it's most worshipful. It's really uncomfortable, but he adds to it. It's like most worshipful, best looking Grand Master of Kansas of all time, and it's really a mouthful. So because of that, we have a different name that we call him in private, but that's a whole nother thing. So when most worshipful, best looking Grand Master of Kansas, Bob Talbot, tapped you on the shoulder, what's that like? Is it, I'm ready, or, man, what's it entail? And I need to go home and talk to the family because I've got 5 years of time that I've got to reallocate.
Right. So there was that.
Right.
Definitely needed to talk to my wife before I commit to anything like that. But for me, just coming up, I'm just a person that fills voids. If something's needed somewhere, I just go and do it.
Okay, well, we'll play that game.
Well,
Yeah,
right.
we'll go that way with you.
Well, so Bob Talbot is a difficult character to say no to.
Yeah.
But
He is.
it sounds like it wasn't so much his convincing, but it was something that you were willing and ready to do.
More so, I mean, I respected Bob, obviously, and we developed a relationship over the years just through doing different things. And
Yeah, he's a good human.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good human.
Yep. And so, I didn't know where anything was going to take me, but if I saw value in me being able to help something, then
Well, it's kind of like real life, though, right? We think we know what's going on until we realize that
yeah,
you get this shape. It's like, you thought you were in control here? Yeah. So
pretty
it's
much.
Right. So,
That's
all
how
right.
it works.
So, you were Grand Master of Kansas in what year?
22, 23.
22, 23. So, for those non-Kansas, the term really goes from March to March.
Yes.
In Kansas. So, they do it as something a little different. Here's a fascinating thing. We have a pretty big Texas connection. In fact, we've got 3 Grand Lodge officers coming in and very soon to shoot with us. Once you leave the Grand East in Texas, you lose the most worshipful title, and it's right worshipful.
Yep.
That's fascinating to me. So when we would do episodes at first, before I was criticized, that I was like, well, why would you lose that title? And it's just fascinating. The ones I talked to didn't have a good answer, but the guys that are coming on, they're going to correct me. They're gonna let me know what the rationale is. So let's go back to the Shrine Bowl. So you're a Shrine Bowl player.
Yep.
You immediately became a Mason. Anybody else on that squad, East or West, that became Masons at any other time that you know of? That they can say, oh man, I played with that guy.
I don't recall any. I did meet with one guy I played with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
At the banquet when I was Grand Master, got up to do whatever
Right.
at the banquet, and he came up at the end of the banquet, and I played with him, and he's a coach for one of the teams. But that's
So how are we not? I've always been fascinated by this. We get the players to come in. The players, 18, 19, they don't really know much, right? But their parents know. How are we not doing a better job getting at least the dads, the uncles, the brothers, the cousins? I mean, what in the world? I feel like that's like prime real estate. Right? I mean, is that a market for us, or are we just doing a bad job at that?
there's probably opportunity there. I think that environment, just from my own personal perspective, is more of a celebration
Right.
type environment. And so I think everybody tends to get caught up in that versus seeing it from a different perspective of showing what Masonry is. I mean, because Masonry is a lot more than just a charity that's created out of that.
For sure.
But I mean, everybody's kind of in a celebratory
Yeah.
mood, and things are going on, and everybody's so busy. And I don't know if there's not time or if it's just not being thought through from
But
that
what about a
perspective.
nice letter from the Grand Master of Kansas that says, we congratulate your son for being here, da 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 da. We've been around for this long. This is what we do with a little QR code. I mean, we can always do something different. And it's not me challenging. No, it is me challenging it. It's me like, why aren't we taking advantage of that opportunity? Mm-hmm. Yes, that's celebratory, and the shrine gets all the cred for that, right? But at the end of the day, you can't be a Shriner in Kansas without being a Mason. And I think of the 100 players, it'd be real easy to draft a letter and sign 100 letters with a QR code coming from the Grand Master of Kansas.
Right.
To me,
Yeah.
that's just, I just think we could do something different. I'm not saying it's better, but it's different. Right?
It's a good idea, and maybe nobody's thought of it until just now. But
There you go. It's free.
You should have.
a lot of good
Yeah.
things come out of communication and discussions, and maybe this discussion just hadn't gone that far.
Yeah.
in that, for those guys.
And I definitely put the QR code on it because now the QR code was saved by COVID, right? But now the QR code, it puts them right where we want to put them.
Right.
I don't know. I digress. So sorry about that. So take it back to.
I also agree. It's a missed opportunity. Anything where we have Masonic or Shriner presence in front of youth, that should be taken advantage of.
We have just taken care of their child. We have just invited their child to a celebratory event that supports arguably the best philanthropy in the world.
Right.
And why wouldn't we get that one more opportunity to touch them?
And even if it is celebratory, that's fun, right? And so if we can put Masonry and the shrine in a fun context, that should be attractive. So we should definitely be taking advantage of it.
It cost us a stamp. Do you still lick stamps? Do people still lick stamps?
I do.
You just peel and paste.
Peel and paste, all right.
Oh, is that what you do?
That's
I haven't opened mail in almost 30 years, and so I mean somebody does it,
right?
So, but yeah,
it's out there.
It's all right. Well, shows what I know. I mean, I know what mail looks like, obviously. So all right.
Awesome. So go way back, apparently.
Yeah, no kidding.
To when you were a master of your lodge, and if you had to do that again, what would you have done differently?
So that's a good question. I'm master again right now.
Oh, you are?
My fifth time.
Oh, your fifth time. All right. So you've done it 4 previous times. What are you going to do different this year?
There you go.
I bet he's going to send a letter to Shrine Bowl player.
Right? You always know what to do after you've been there.
Oh my gosh. Well, you think you do. So what are you doing different now? What's it look like from 22 to not 22?
That's a big question. Mm-hmm. I mean, at that young going in, you just do not know what you're getting yourself into.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And that was fine to a degree. We did some building projects and, learned how to communicate with other appendant organizations because that was a home. That lodge was a home to a few different bodies that came together to donate money and then had to go up and talk to them and we got the project done, put an elevator in. But, very positive. I don't know that I would change anything. Maybe being ignorant to a degree was a good thing. That was the year we had a little racial issue in the lodge.
Yeah, that's going to come up later.
Yeah,
don't go too deep in that because you don't know about this.
Yeah. So, maybe ignorance was bliss in that situation.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. Looking back, absolutely the right thing to do. No doubt whatsoever. But now it's like you're on cruise control. You already know what to do. You just try to. What never changes is trying to get the lodge behind a goal. I mean, each master ought to set forth some goals, and he ought to motivate the members to attain those goals. And that's the challenge that remains in perpetuity, yet it's a different dynamic sometimes. So you're trying to fit different people into different goals, and otherwise it's planning your events, blah, 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 School of Instruction, Leadership Academy, AC, getting people to do different things. Doing what you do with the community and charity. But the attaining specific goals with a little bit different people each year. Trice Robeson, which Pike won last year.
And the year before.
We've won 3 times in the last 10 years, I think. We're going to try again this year, but we don't have as many members as you all have to draw from, so we try to be strategic on because you can't get it if you're not bringing a bunch of members in, so it's kind of cyclical where you don't bring members in, then you bring a bunch of members in, then it goes back the other way, and they may or may not be willing to learn the work or attain the proficiency.
They haven't been motivated properly yet.
Correct. Yeah. So some of that is challenging.
The competition of the Trice Robinson, to me, that's when just because you're talking about it in itself, that shows the pride in the lodge that they're like, hey, we want to get this. Yeah, we've got different obstacles. A bigger lodge has different challenges. A smaller lodge has different challenges when it comes to that. But I think the competition aspect of that, and to me, that's prideful. I'm a competitive guy, but I'm a very prideful guy, and I think that's great for Masonry.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. There's a lot of jurisdictions do traveling gavels, and it's not just have the gavel. The essence of it is to get you out and about.
Right.
So I love stuff like that, and I think that's what helps Masonry kind of hold on a little bit.
Right. we have another little goal with Master's Achievement. That's actually a lodge award rather than a Master's Achievement Award.
Yeah, we agree.
But so you guys got that the $500 stipend last year, beat us by 20 points.
Well, I didn't know anybody was keeping score.
Yeah. Yep. I'm coming for you.
We like it. Well, Curtis Reedus, he was on previous episode.
Yeah.
You already got a former Grand Master. He's on your tail.
Yep. We're thinking about it. We talk about it.
We like
We're
it.
We're going to get it.
We like it. I know sometimes Pike's referred to as the Grand Lodge at Pike, and it's not always in a complimentary tone. We kind of like it.
Right.
Oh, gosh. So let's switch a little bit. Let's go back to the shrine. Ever have any interest in becoming a potentate?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't have the time
Yeah.
to devote. Right now, don't watch TV, and all my time is devoted to lodge or
Yeah.
family
Makes
or
sense.
work or some stuff in the community.
Yeah.
I'm a big 24-inch gauge, guys. You got to have a balance
Nobody likes a bragger.
in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And if you don't watch TV and you're busy all the time, I mean, I don't know where I would fit that in.
Well, it's like everything we say, oh man, I'd work out, but I just don't have the time. We'll get up 30 minutes early. Or I'd go to lodge, but I don't have the time. We'll quit watching TV.
Yep.
So we can do what we allow ourselves to do. We are our own obstacle, I think, to your point.
Correct.
Right.
It's however you prioritize what you make your priority.
Sure. It's same with the relationship. If your relationship gets stagnant, you probably need to put a little more effort into it. It's no different than Blue Lodge and Masonry. Mm-hmm. So, and I think we're all guilty of somewhere in our life that sometimes we've just not reprioritized.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep recalibrating, right?
Yeah.
So, the attention that I give in a relationship with my wife in the first 3 years is different than 29 years.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not good or bad. It's like we have evolved, and sometimes you go through those lulls, and the lulls, if you're like, hey, how are you doing? Our relationship get like that. It's like, you know what? Let's go out and have dinner. You've got to do something. You've got to put in the effort, and no different than Masonry, right? Nothing's that complicated in life.
Now you got to
refocus. My aunt, she doesn't watch the show, but shout out. She once told me, you can't find time for anything. You have to make it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you don't have the time, you don't have the time to make. But I always took that to heart, and it really.
It's a commodity. It's our most precious commodity. We can all make money. Money's easy to make, but we can't create more time.
Facts.
Yeah.
So I mean, speaking of money, and I mean, just thinking about Masonry and where it is, and how many members we've lost, or how many we're short from, especially when you started, right? We're down 60% membership in Kansas since the time you started. So finances have to change. But why? Tell us what you think about why Masons, or Masons in Kansas, Masons in general, are so reluctant to allow for per capita or dues increases.
I'll rephrase. Why are we dum-dums sometimes?
So, I'll just be honest on this. I think, and I use the word ignorant or ignorance a lot, and I put myself.
That's why
in
he
that
was a Grand
category.
Master, and I'm not.
I've been there. I'm ignorant to a lot of different things.
Sure.
But we've trained ourselves over the years to, we assign value to certain things.
Right.
Our 19th century brothers placed value on Freemasonry that financially it was in the thousands of dollars a year to join.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we talk about that a lot, of the current value dollar. Yeah.
I think that we went through a phase where we were a boom with membership throughout the world wars, a historical high, had so many members. Well, why do we need to charge that much? Complacency, and we've had generations that's all they know. The reality is that it's whatever value you put on the fraternity, and if you really understand it and make it your life, or interject yourself into it and live your life in a Masonic manner. I mean, it's everything. You can't place finances on that. But even if we doubled everybody's dues, lodges would be in a lot better position. And really, in the grand scheme of things, you go through a drive-through anywhere, you're spending $10 or $20 for anything. You do that a few times a year.
I know a person that watches this podcast, so I'm not going to call you out because it was an uncomfortable situation. 2 Grand Lodges ago, talking about per capita, always a staunch opponent to the per capita. So I watched this person, watched him go to the old swag tables, watched him buy $78 worth of garbage. Sorry, McCoy. But stuff to put on their car and other things. Not garbage, but you understand what I'm saying. $78 worth of stuff, but complains every year over $3.50 here, $5 here. And I said, "You're proud Mason." "Oh, yeah, I am." "You put the stuff on your car, wear it on your pin." "Oh, yeah." "Well, what's up with the dues increase? Why are you so obstinate about it? You're so proud of it, but you don't want to swing $3. Why don't you put one of those silly plastic things that you bought? Why don't you put it back? That pays for a year." It wasn't as well received as I'd hoped. However, I'll say that to anyone. Mm-hmm. You want to go around and pimp the logo. "I'm a Mason. Here, look at my ring. I've got the red fez. I'm a 32nd. I'm a 33rd. All of this stuff. But you won't support the mission for $3, $5, $100 as far as I'm concerned. Don't be wearing that. Don't buy swag at the Grand. You know what I'd say? Sorry, McCoy. Until you guys stop being silly with our per capitas, you shouldn't be buying any swag. It just, to me, it's hypocritical.
Yeah.
But that's my words, not his words. So don't send him any hate mail. I get enough. Send them to me. We got autoresponders.
Just put it in perspective. Our lodge, out at Pike, $11 a month, right? If you put it in,
sure, yeah,
$11 a month.
Yeah.
I know in other countries when you adjust for the exchange rate, some of them are in the hundreds of dollars per month. Yeah. And those are growing Grand Lodges over there. So I think the value of the lodges. Yeah, that's a deep discussion. If you watch the episode that we have with Steve Crane, we're going to be talking about that because he's got a lot of international influence, and that's you're going to. So I go back now to my question. Do you think this is a little controversial? Do you think, because what we've asked before, do you think that by not maybe keeping up, do you think that's devalued our brand a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's honest. And I think it's not only from the financial standpoint, but I think our brand is maybe a little devalued. And I think we've we've either raised the bar so people can get under it easier, or we've lowered it so people can get over. And you can look at it from, this will be where all my C2A guys and all my one-day class guys jump in, and that's not really what it's at. To me, it's the person, and I would argue, I'd go back to this, it's up to the lodge. You could have a great Masonic experience and your lodge can pump out great degree work, but if there's just crappy mentorship, we got problems. You could also pump out C2A and one-day Masons, but if you have crappy mentorship at your lodge, that's also a problem. I think there's somewhere, I think you need to open your toolbox. There's anybody that follows the channel, we have lots of what I call healthy debates back and forth on what's right. I think you should have the tools available in your toolbox and deploy them as you see fit. But I have an opinion. It's really hard to bring anybody in Masonry right now. The way I grew up, we never invited anybody over to our house when the house wasn't picked up, right? And right now, our Masonic house is a little bit dirty. So we need to do some picking up, in my opinion, before we start worrying about getting all these folks in. We got plenty of people to retain. I would put some efforts on the folks that we've already done all the damn degree work on, and spent all the time and energy on. I would refocus there. If I had a magic wand for Masonry, I would do the magic, boom, retention pill. And And I wouldn't worry about bringing another one in, because once we get retention solved, you've got all of these people now reinvigorated and excited to bring others in. But right now we got a dirty house.
Well, let me ask you this. On the retention side,
Yeah.
I don't believe we guard the West Gate like we should have, and I believe there's people in the fraternity that shouldn't be. So why are we wasting time, valuable time, on retaining people, not all of them,
Yeah.
that, I mean, do we identify? I mean, how do you go through that process of spending wasteful time on retaining people who have no business?
Well, I still think we have ways to handle stuff internally, but I think folks don't have the intestinal fortitude to maybe address some of those situations. Anybody that knows this, my daughter, who is in a law enforcement profession, she doesn't want her husband, who's in the law enforcement profession, to join because of a member in Wichita he likes to get on social media and do some silly things. And he's known, and I'll tell you off camera, he's known as a certain thing in the law enforcement world. Not necessarily a criminal, but he's just not a representation of the brand. That's like, what? I can't have my husband associated with that. That's your point. And it's a damn shame.
That's a problem.
And I don't think this person's going to do anything to get him kicked out. However, I guess I was about to say, well, if I was a member of his lodge, I'd sit him down and correct him. But you know what? Why do you have to be a member of his lodge? Right. So I have to take some onus for that too. Now that you say that, I mean, I'm cycling through all the beef I have there. And yeah, that's,
Yeah.
well, be ready for it, boys.
I mean, on the other side of that, I know personally, just in the first couple of years that I was a Mason, of men that I believe would be good Masons who were disenfranchised, didn't meet their expectations, or some other event or some other person dissuaded them, that they would have merited the effort to retain, and would be great Masons.
Kansas Mason would have benefited from them, probably.
And they went all the way through the process. So we put the time into it already.
Yeah.
Why not follow up with that? But I mean, I agree that there's some that we don't necessarily need to put out the effort to retain. But there's some really good men that I think we lose because we don't do the right things. Yeah.
I think you have to be smart when folks are coming in. It used to be, God, when I came in years ago, we would get new members, prospects. We'd go up to the shrine, you'd sit down, in the oasis, talk it through. But you had guys dressed a certain way, but now it's like, I don't think I use that anymore, because it's the brand. And folks can say this is an elitist stance all you want. That's fine. Pick whatever you want. But I think Masonry should be an elite organization. So if you want to say, well, Bird's being an elitist, fine. I think Masonry should be an elite organization. It's not for everyone. So if that's your argument, you're going to lose that one. I'll give you all you can handle.
Yeah, and it's more about just putting your best forward at all times, or meetings or whatever. I get muddy, slimy, dirty through the week. Yet when I show up to my meetings,
You put in the effort.
Suit.
You put
your best forward.
Like years ago, when guys would come off the farm and all day, they'd get cleaned up to go to town to lodge. And again, it's the effort. And we could do better.
So when I first started, I worked a job where I suit and tie every day, and so when I came to lodge, I would still wear the suit, just take the tie off. It was actually a step down for me, but it was still a step up from, just average, ordinary day, right? We had a member that actually, he went through with me, and he wanted to leave because he didn't own a suit. He didn't own, and, I talked to him about, because he was, when you go through with somebody, there's a definite.
It's a battle buddy. It's a battle buddy. Yeah.
And so I talked him through it, and just wear the best that you can. You don't have to match everybody else. But Jimmy Craig, secretary.
Shout out. He's great man.
He told me that it's about just showing respect for the lodge, right?
Yep.
And so you just come. Doesn't have to be your absolute best, but just not your worst either. Right. And so that meant something to me, and I'm happy to say that brother I'm talking about is still a member.
great.
Yeah. And yeah.
You know, at lodges, I think of times where, you know, I never wear out a suit. I might just outgrow it. And so instead of donating it to Goodwill, why aren't we taking these extra jackets to our lodge? I mean, we've all got closet space. And then, you know, putting some sizes up so when guys come in, they've got a jacket. I mean, that's something simple to do because I've never felt out of place when I've been overdressed. And we've all been to places we've been overdressed. I'm like, okay, it's fine. But I felt out of place when I'm underdressed.
Yes.
And a jacket cleans up a lot. I mean, you can have nice jeans and a shirt, and a jacket changes the whole look. And maybe that's something we can do at lodges. You know, Goodwill, their CEO makes too much money anyway. So let's, I think we could put some jackets in lodge. You know, not your raggedy jackets, but, you know, something that'll make a brother not feel out of place.
Yeah.
And you know what, guys? You can have it if you want it. If it fits, great. It's yours.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a value add to me.
Sure.
That's a value add to me. It's something simple, right?
That's a great idea. I mean, literally, when I took off the tie, it was kind of to fit in with the decorum of the rest of the lodge. So I went down a little bit, but others could step up, and they would feel great about that.
Oh no, I remember when you came in. I mean, I remember when you came in. It's like, shit, man, I don't want to have a member outdressing me, and I'm damn master. So, but no, I think some of that pressure, but it's the pridefulness. You have to have a little bit of pride in the deal. So, it's
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, you've been master 5 times, right? Mm-hmm. You've only been Grand Master once.
Right.
You seem like,
Yeah.
So if you had to do that again, what would you change?
You know, that's a good question. You're probably going to have a hard time getting something out of me on that.
well, I mean, you do something. It's not like you did anything bad. What did you run out of time to do? How about that? Same thing.
There was some... Well, what I ran out of time to do, Most Worshipful Rob continued.
Yeah.
Some of the
did a great job.
appendant body stuff we talked about just didn't make sense, and it made more sense for Most Worshipful Rob to take care of some of those things. But Grand Master year was...
I'd argue that started a little bit with Stoops. Stoops was the one. You know, I say this with Mike. Mike likes to pull the pin on the grenade and let that thing blow up. And I say that with respect. Stir the pot and sit back while somebody else eats it. Whatever you want to do. That's Mike Stoops for you.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh yeah, he's and I respect it. I like the hustle.
I do too.
So
I do too.
I know what he does.
No, a lot of during that year, I think that there was still some damage that needed repaired from COVID and stuff like that. So my goal was to kind of bring the council together and start bringing lodges together. I think we went a long way in that way. There were some other things going on with the foundation and the Masonic home that we just had to roll with and try to
make
manage.
business decisions.
Yeah. So that was, I don't know that we could have managed those any better than we did from our side.
Sure.
There was only so much that we could do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that we came together pretty well. I wish I maybe would have traveled a little bit more.
Yeah, fair.
However, I'm busy through the week.
I get it.
And
we're told when we first become Masons how to balance our time. I'm not going to give away too much.
Right.
So you did what you're supposed to do.
I did what I was supposed to do. There's always other things you can try, or I tried different ways to create opportunities.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm sure there's something in that area, just something different to inspire.
Yeah, it's like watching game film. If you were go back to watch the game film of your year, you'd probably think, I'd probably do that different, maybe a little tweaks here, but nothing. Tweaking is different than a massive change.
Right, and I don't know that there's a massive change. I think we did some really good things and brought a lot of people together.
Yeah.
And I'm very humbled by the brothers around me that seemed acclimated to come together.
Yeah.
under what I was trying to.
Well, it takes the leadership to kind of remind folks of what we're supposed to be doing. We get complacent and a little bitchy and moany sometimes about stuff that doesn't matter.
Right. We do it, in that proverbial box, and sometimes we gotta
dudes and egos.
ourselves.
Yeah, dudes and egos. So, well, before we get to the most important question of the podcast, we alluded to this. So there was an event, and I think Most Worshipful Souter was there.
Yes.
So, cryptically, without it being cagey, give us a high level of what happened at that lodge. There was a person being voted on?
So, Brother Walter Morris was his name.
Yep.
He had petitioned earlier, went through the investigating committee. It was favorable. One black cube twice, and come back 6 more months or whatever it was at that time, if you so choose. And
those non-Masons that are watching, it has to be a unanimous ballot, right?
Yes.
So if it was just one, you'd readdress the situation just to kind of confirm, but you have to be unanimous. So if you have 1,000 people in the room, if one person says no, you're not a member. So Take you back, sorry.
So he did repetition, went through the same process. In the meantime, I can't remember specifics, but I remember figuring out that this was probably racially motivated.
Sure.
And it was highly suspected, that the same result would occur throughout that time. Most Worshipful T. Michael Fegan, who lived in Junction City at the time.
Yeah.
He was the deputy Grand Master.
Yeah.
Most Worshipful Jeff.
Fegan's a neighbor in this neighborhood.
Is he?
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So probably talking to T. Mike, and then he to Most Worshipful Jeff. Somehow it worked out to where I believe Most Worshipful Mike was there as well, but the Grand Master ended up there on election night, and sure enough, the same thing occurred. And they just basically cleared the room and had a
discussion.
It wasn't even a discussion.
Yeah.
Just asked a simple question to each guy, and nobody could give the say no.
And to be clear, nobody was chastising the vote.
No.
Because we have things that we handle a certain way as well. So for those of you that are trying to do the I gotcha. So
no, and most Worshipful Jeff can speak better to this, but I from memory, I believe it was any reason why this guy shouldn't be a Mason, something simple like that. Nobody said no. Everybody said, yeah, great guy. Everybody in the room, yet there was a black cube. Well, we'll just move on. Ballot approved.
Yeah.
Something in that manner.
Well, Grand Master, he yields the biggest sword.
Yep.
Right?
And, Walter became a Master Mason and got throat cancer shortly thereafter and died within a year. So it was.
So that's terrible. However, let's look at the upside.
Yep.
He got to. He obviously wanted to become a Mason, and he was a Mason before he passed.
Yep.
And we make promises before you become a Mason. We've already made a promise to you in some kind of a weird way, right? And without giving away too much, and that's pretty good ending to the story.
Yeah,
so to speak.
Great guy, involved in the community. I'll never forget him.
So now to the most important question of the podcast. One must go. You've seen that. We give some challenge. So up on the screen, you're going to see 4 things, and let me just make sure you can see it, because I think I'm a little prompter. So up on the screen, you're going to see guns, like the Second Amendment. We're going to say the Second Amendment.
Okay.
K-State, Masonry, and football in general. One has to go forever. It was never invented, created. But remember, I know your easy one, you're going to say, well, it's going to be football. Well, if it was football, you might not have been introduced to the fraternity. So, one has to go forever. Which one is it and why?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, this is what we do.
Yep. I would say football, or I could say, K-State, same thing, Maybe I wouldn't have went on the path I would have, but big believer in fate, and you find a way where you're supposed to go. I would probably say football.
Yeah, because I made it kind of challenging. This is unfair. What I did you dirty here. I did you dirty.
Either one of those could have changed the trajectory of Masonry for me. Yeah, K-State or football.
For sure. To me, the two here on the left, those are core to me.
They're core.
Those are. I love my wife. I mean, if she's up there and there's only three, my wife would have to go before the other two. And hey, love you, but those are just core to me.
Well, they have to be.
I mean, that's like oxygen and water. You can't. Yeah. I mean, so. But that's what we have. Mike, thanks for joining the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.